Welcome to Behind the SME, the podcast where we dive into the stories of founders, leaders, and visionaries of small and medium-sized enterprises. As the CEO of a small business myself, I want to uncover what drives the success of SMEs by talking to those who are in the trenches, building their businesses from the ground up. I hope you enjoy the episode. Erika, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Adam. Great to be here.
No problem. Why don't we start by giving the listeners a little bit of an insight into who you are and what's brought you here?
Yeah, sure. So my name's Erika Robinson. I'm the UK General Manager of Constant Contact. Constant Contact is digital marketing software, which predominantly is aimed at SMEs. So very aligned with your audience, I think. So a bit about me. I have had a multitude of different roles, mostly in finance, strategy, sales, and marketing. I've worked for some quite big brands over the years, so Virgin Media being one, Headspace another, the mindfulness and meditation app. Had great experience there of launching a new product in market, which set me up quite nicely for the role I'm doing now for Constant Contact, because we are effectively a new product in market. Got a long 30-year-long history in the US, one of the original pioneers of email marketing, but fairly untapped market for us in the UK, so exciting times. And I love that kind of environment, building a business from scratch. That kind of, even though we've got that kind of safety net in the US, we've got that kind of startup mentality and vibe here in the UK, which makes it really exciting.
Yeah, amazing. I want to talk about Headspace just because I'm a fan.
Yeah, sure.
Per se, so always nice to get an under the bonnet view on a product that you've interacted with lots. What stage were that when you were there, and what were you doing with them?
I joined during a very, very busy time for them, actually. I joined during COVID. And I actually had left a previous role to set up my own business. And it was a children's play centre, and it was forced to close during COVID. It's still running fine now. It's going well. But that forced me back into work at the time. And I had a brilliant opportunity initially to start as their finance director, and then go on to be their senior director of strategy. But that then opened up, some brilliant opportunities because it was growing so quickly. And a lot of people don't realize Headspace has a really big B2B business.
Oh, really? Okay.
It's a benefit that is available to that big businesses offer to their workforce. And it was great because I don't know if you know much about employee assistance programs, but they're generally underutilized. It's a benefit that most businesses offer, but by putting a big brand and a successful brand behind it was a great way to really increase its usage and make it more accessible to people. So great opportunity.
So an employee assistance program is a package alongside health insurance. Is that what I'm gathering?
Yeah, it's effectively you can go and get therapy, counselling, plus a whole multitude of other benefits that are available. It set me up really nicely for Constant Contact because it's a very similar sized business, a very similar structure. We've got 1,200 employees based in the US. They're mostly based in Boston.
Okay.
But offices in the UK, Canada, Australia. And we have now 12 people in the UK, about to hire one more as well. So we've grown quite significantly. If you think I was the first hire 11 months ago here in the UK, and now we've grown and grown quite significantly since then and continuing to grow.
Yeah. I would I've had a couple of people in my career, more than 5 I would say to me, I've got this opportunity to set up the UK office of a big company which is based in blah, normally the US, but it might be somewhere else. Seems like an unbelievable opportunity, once in a lifetime, etc. And I'm just fascinated by actually what that's like, because I know the journey of starting a business from scratch, and I know the journey of an established business growing, but this feels like a kind of cacophony of both of those things. Tell us a little bit about what it's actually like, and what the benefits are and what some of the challenges you faced are?
Yeah, well, I mean, this is the third time I've done it. So I've worked in 3 different US-based companies
Got
now.
the pro in
And
the
I'd
room.
say
Perfect.
the experience has been different in all of them.
Okay.
But
Wow.
what is
Okay.
great about Constant Contact is we have a Canadian CEO who really understands that actually entering a new market isn't just about doing things the American way and replicating that. And I have a huge amount of autonomy and freedom to try different things. So I'm very fortunate, and in that sense, it's very much like a startup business, but with the support of a much bigger organization behind me. Yeah, it has challenges, but I like that as someone that's quite entrepreneurial, that set up my own business. I love that kind of scrappy startup feel and that opportunity to really build something and make it unique as well. So not do things just the American way. But of course, I've got to take lessons from where it's working. And there are actually, I mean, there are so many synergies in America and the UK. So I am finding that actually what is working in the US currently is working. So it takes a lot of the learning that sometimes, as a small business, you spend a long time learning what works. And a lot of people say this, but the key is to be adaptable, test lots of things, see what works, and pivot when something isn't working, and make sure that you are agile. A lot of that learning has been done already. We can still test, we can try different things. In fact, we've got the benefit of being able to be more agile and change and move more quickly than our counterparts in the US. But yeah, like I say, still have that benefit of 30 years of learnings.
Yeah. I'd love to hear a couple of examples with your experience, your threefold experience doing this, on what some of those Americanisms are that don't morph so well into the UK market.
Yeah, I think I guess some of the challenges have been different. I've worked for really big brands that are well known in the UK. That gives some kind of benefit. But then working at Constant Contact, the brand isn't so well known, but actually that brings about new opportunities because you can get to reinvent yourself a little bit.
Let's get on to that, because the product, as you mentioned right at the beginning, is very tailored towards SMEs and supporting SMEs. And I'm going to butcher your mission statement, so it's better off coming from you. But it's very much about empowering SMEs. Tell us a little bit about its purpose and how it works with small businesses.
Yeah, our overall mission is to help the small stand tall, and that has been the case throughout our history. And I love that. I think as an entrepreneur myself, and running a small business, it really resonated with me. And what that means day to day, our entire product really is built around the small business. If you think most small businesses don't go into what they're doing because they love marketing. They do it because they have a passion for something else, or sometimes they want a better work-life balance, or there are a multitude of reasons. But rarely is it because of marketing. And marketing is something that then, like everything, when you're a small business owner, you have to learn and you have to get to grips with, even if it isn't your forte. And so we bear that in mind. We keep the product really simple. We provide a one-stop shop, providing all digital marketing needs for a small business, all using AI to really simplify the process for them and ultimately save them time to do what they do love to do.
Yeah. Okay. So remind me of the mission statement. Help the small stand
Help
tall.
the small stand tall.
It's so good.
Yeah.
Is that the UK version, or is that US as well?
No, that's US as well.
That's US as well. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Really. So it's an
Yeah.
SME focus in the US too.
It is.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So what mistakes do you see SMEs generally making when it comes to marketing?
I think that I guess there's a few things. One, just not doing it is one, and putting it off. And I know as a small business owner myself how easy that is. You get so stuck doing the day job and just being in the business and not working on it. So I think a key thing is just give it a go. If you don't think you're doing enough marketing, use a tool. Another is making it too manual. So if you automate tasks, you can, there's so many emails, for example, that and messaging out to your existing customer base or prospects that you can really just automate and take a big weight off your of your workload and simplify that. And I think consistency as well. So making sure that you're posting on social media regularly, you are sending emails out regularly to your base. The value of your own contact list, I think that's underestimated by SMEs as well, and how important it is to build your own contact list. So I think that's a key thing that I would recommend any SME to focus on.
Yeah, so it's about staying front of mind, isn't it? Through those kind of regular touch points, through email, through socials and the like. And do you think, the right email marketing campaign doesn't necessarily need a call to action at every point? It's like I said, it's about putting yourself out there, saying, hey, by the way, this is an insight from us. This is us kind of showing that we're experts in an area or interest in this area, taking part in this activity. It's not always buy our product and ram it down your throat. Is that your experience?
Exactly. I mean, we actually have like an 80-20 rule that we recommend, that you should really be promoting yourself and your product only 20% of the time. And then the other 80%, think about what is useful to your client base, your customer base, and provide value to them. And then they'll keep reading your emails again and again, like looking at your content again and again. And then when they are ready to buy, you're the brand that will be top of mind.
And what do you think there's the kind of the sweet spot number of, let's take emails, because it's obviously a popular route there, mechanism. What do you think is the sweet spot? Is it daily, weekly, monthly? What do you recommend to your clients?
I think all businesses are different. It's hard to say what a single sweet spot is. I mean, we generally recommend sending an email once a week to the base that isn't doing anything. But then if you automate emails as well, if they are buying from you, then that you should absolutely be sending them an email afterwards. If it depends on what the product is as well, or if it's a service. If they are subscribing to something, you want to set up a series of emails afterwards to make sure that they're getting the best value from it. You also want to be asking for a review or feedback or referrals at certain times. So it depends on where they are in the customer journey, rather than saying send this number of emails, because you also want to segment your email base as well. And so you might want to send quite targeted messaging to just a certain group, the ones, like I say, that have bought from you recently or are the most engaged. So yeah, I think, there's no hard and fast rule, but keep it short as well. Like, you don't need to write a whole essay every time. We know that the perfect email is no more than 15 lines of text, because on average people are reading their emails a lot, but they are only spending 9 or 10 seconds on average
Is that it? Yeah.
reading them. So
Wow.
you want to really have that kind of clear, get your message across quite quickly, and if there is a call to action, make sure it's nice and clear right at the start.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Really, really interesting. I want to pick up on a point that you made a minute ago about how people underestimate the value built in their contact book.
Yeah.
And I think it's a really, really good point. And I think it's very easy to assume your assets are things that you can pick up, and machinery and, buildings and the like. But actually there's incredible worth in your network, isn't there? And actually having that really large contact book. And if you think about having 10,000 people that you email regularly, and actually they open their emails from you because normally it involves something insightful, and then you want to go and launch a new product or a service, actually, you've got a ready-made client book there. But if it's the first time you email them and they're not used to it, and half the emails are bust, and you haven't really been keeping log of everything, then you've just lost out on a huge opportunity. Tell me, what advice would you give a small business wanting to build that contact book? How do they actually go about doing it?
I mean, there are lots of different ways, but I think if you've already got a social media following, that's a really good way to start. We offer at Constant Contact lead magnet tools, which is a way then to send something out via your social media channels to get people engaged. and then share their email address with you, because then you can build up that list. And a lot of people are actually going social first, which is, definitely a great way to start. But then I'm hearing so many sad stories of people that have had their accounts hacked, and they've lost their entire their entire followers, and they don't own that list. So
Okay, yeah.
so there's a huge amount of risk there. So I would say, absolutely, if social media is working for you, that's great, but you still need to make sure that you're building an email list as well, because that's a list that you own. They are your own contacts. There's no risk involved in that, and they are the most engaged. And it, at the end of the day, it's a very cost-effective marketing tool.
Yeah. I mean, I think in its most simplest form, every company needs a CRM, don't they? There needs to have a log of the data of the people that interact with the business. And I guess it's partly about future proofing. If you ever wanted to sell the company and someone was doing their due diligence, one of the first questions they would ask is, who are your customers, and who are the potential customers, and who are your prior customers? Unless you can present that data in a fairly neat format, then I think you're missing a trick there.
Yeah, I mean, if you are thinking of selling a business, it makes your business so much more valuable, because it opens up the number of buyers as well. If you've got, it's not just the business, it's that contact list that could be used in other ways as well.
Yeah, yeah, and CRM. I think for small business, there'll be lots of listeners that have gone, I never wanted to just go down that road. It gets expensive and complicated quite quickly. I would challenge that preconception. I don't know what your take on this is, but nowadays there's so many really good, pretty reasonable, if not free, tools out there. So yeah, do you agree with that statement around
Yeah,
CRMs?
I think, or CRM and digital marketing tools, I think they're so cost effective now. Like, if you think, especially when they're embedded with AI, the kind of functionality and the tools that we can now provide small businesses was once upon a time, only reserved for the biggest companies. And I still remember early in my career when I worked at Virgin Media, and we invested in AI, and we're looking at projects costing tens of millions, and it was all like a new thing. And now that same kind of functionality is available to small businesses at like £20 a month. It's ridiculous now at how things have moved on and how affordable this is for
Yeah.
small businesses.
Yeah, quick pace of change on that, and difficult to know, I think, on that world whether or not you want to be early in and invest the huge amount of money in having something built for you, or do you wait a little bit and wait for it to become even more democratized and widely available, and not sink all of your investment in something which might become technologically redundant quite quickly? I think we're in that period now with AI.
Yeah, I mean, I think now you don't need to have anything built for you. Like, how adaptable software is. Like, I'm a Constant Contact user myself, and how easy it is to just get set up immediately. It just makes it's so user friendly, and you just link all your social media accounts, and it's there. You can put in your web address if you've got one, and it will scrape your logo and your colors, so it automatically creates a brand kit. It connects to any other kind of CRM that you're using, or like design tools like Canva, for example, or e-commerce sites. So it can bring all the information in automatically. And if you don't use any other tools, you can just, if you've just got maybe a spreadsheet with contacts on it, you can also just pull that information in really, really quickly and easy as well. And you're literally just ready to go.
Yeah. Yeah. Amazing. I wanted to ask about your side business, because it sounds really interesting, and obviously you get the chance not only to run a small business owned by a big company in the UK, but also to have your own thing going on, which you've started from scratch, and it sounds like an interesting first few months, if not years. So tell us a little bit about Picnic.
Yeah, sure. So, as you say, an interesting first few months. I opened Picnic, my children's play centre, which is in southwest London, 4 months before COVID hit. So very tough times, and scary times, to be honest, because I had a team of 12 working for me. There was a week or so where I knew I was very close to running out of money. I just only just opened, and I didn't have that kind of equity built up in the business or that safety net. So it was scary. I was worried about having to make my entire team redundant really early. But fortunately, they all qualified for furlough. I then went to work at Headspace, and then I'd already hired a brilliant manager by that point, and it certainly wasn't my intention, but I realized that I could actually have the career and keep the business as well. And actually, that's what I've ended up doing ever since. It wasn't really, it's probably sounds terrible, but it wasn't really my dream to run a children's play centre. And it was more that I saw an opportunity because I had two young children myself. I wanted to take them somewhere nice. I wanted to spend quality family time. There just wasn't something like that in the area. So I just thought, why not create something? And yeah, like I say, I've got a brilliant team behind me. My manager has been there since very near the beginning, just a couple of months after opening, and she's still with me today. And she's built up a brilliant team as well, and it's doing well.
Yeah. That must have been crazy. I mean, I guess it's easy to talk now with a bit of hindsight and go, yeah, we had furlough and we kind of toughed it out. But, let's rewind to March 2020, which is probably when, things locked down for
That's
you.
right.
At that point, we didn't know if it was going to be a week, 6 months, a year, 3 years, 5 years. It was so unknown, wasn't it? Actually,
It was, yeah.
how long the process was. And I assume you still had other costs, council tax and rent, and
Rent, yeah,
still had to
significant
keep
rent.
the lights on
Yeah.
and the like. So yeah, it must have been very tempting just to go, do you know what, I'll redo this when things have calmed down. How did you get through that period?
Well, that's kind of what I did do. I went back to work. So and that was really out of necessity. I couldn't just sit twiddling my thumbs and waiting for it to open. Like you say, when we closed the doors, I did initially think it was going to be for a week, or I hoped it would be for a week, because I knew I didn't have enough cash in the business beyond about 2 or 3 weeks. And so, yeah, I just, and actually though, I took it had some good sides for me as well, because it was so crazy busy when you start a new business, and especially that kind of business where you just literally from day one, you're full. When you have that kind of bricks and mortar type business, and especially a play centre that was so needed in the area, and mums love to talk, I didn't actually have to worry about marketing, and we were busy every session, but it meant I was busy all the time, just in the business, not working on it. And I hadn't really built up any cash in the business. Well, that was a warning sign already, what was going wrong. And it was just about breaking even though everyone was working so hard, my entire team. So it allowed me to take a step back and actually look at the business model and look at what I had expected to happen and what had happened, and there was a fundamental flaw, and the layout didn't really work, and my capacity was not as high as I expected it to be. So I actually, during COVID time, took a bit of a risk, not knowing when I'd be open again, and got the builders back in and invested more in the business so when it did open again, I could have higher numbers, I could charge more for a more premium experience, and actually then it worked really well.
One thing I'm always fascinated by entrepreneurs that sit on these podcasts and I chat with is I think kind of just their blind optimism. Lots of people would listen to you and go, "You're nuts." You doubled down essentially on this thing where you'd had a few weeks worth of proof. And I think that's just amazing. And I think optimism runs through the veins of entrepreneurs, and that resilience to kind of push through and keep going is pretty admirable. Yeah. So I mean, amazing. And was there temptation post COVID? This thing is flying, it sounds like, and really busy, to step away from the day job and go and join it full time? What's been the relationship like?
There have been times, and I mean, just running one play center isn't enough for me, if I'm honest. I have tried to expand a couple of times. I had funding all agreed for 3 new sites, but they all fell through. So it is something that I have considered. And now I'm at the point, honestly, my children are a bit older. They can't benefit from a play center anymore. So I'm quite happy to leave it ticking along. I've got a team that run it that can run it better than I can. So I, yeah, no immediate plans. I'm enjoying the new challenge too much.
Yeah. Well, as the father of a toddler that spent many a cold Sunday trying to work out what to do to entertain them, I'm very grateful for people like you for creating those centers. And when you find that one that also is enjoyable for you as an adult and has good coffee and hopefully a nice cake, actually
Exactly.
it's very, very easy to keep going back. And I'm sure that's kind of what you've landed on there. They call that product market fit, I think. To open the door and then just be full out of the gate is very unusual, but it shows that you identified what the area really needed. I want to go into talking about running this SME as part of a large company dynamic, because 12, I think you said 1,200 people in the US, is that right?
Yeah.
And then 12 in the UK.
Yeah.
You're obviously hired with a remit which says, Erika, we want you to grow the UK presence, build clients, etc. That is a very blank sheet of paper, right? Where do you even begin with that? What do you start with?
Oh, wow. Well, look at what's working in the US. Look at the product, look at the market. I mean, the key thing I had to do, I have to think back to last year, really create a strategy and create a plan and work out where the opportunity is. And there's such a huge opportunity in the UK because we're such an entrepreneurial nation. And that's our sweet spot. It's the startups, the new SMEs, the entrepreneurs. They're the ones that where the product really resonates and works really well for them. So if you've got the product already, then it makes everything else fall into place. But then the key challenge for us is we're not as well known here as we are in the US. So it's been a case of building that brand awareness, but then ultimately converting into sales as well. And I'm fortunate that everything's going in the right direction and being really good. And the product has resonated really well
Yeah.
in the UK market.
So first thing you said was finding out what's working well. Does that involve going to the US and speaking to loads of people, or how do you do that?
A lot of it's in the data. I mean, obviously, I speak to my colleagues in the US every single day. There's such a brilliant big team there, and they're all really, really supportive. International expansion is such an important agenda item for the whole company, not just for the 12 of us in the UK. And so, yeah, I mean, I have been over to the US, but also, many of them have come over to us as well and supported. For example, when I built the initial sales team, we were fortunate to have the sales director come over and spend 3 weeks with the team and coaching them. So, yeah, I'm really lucky to have that kind of that support.
Yeah. And was that the early hires? Was it brand? You said brand awareness and then business development. Is that where you started?
Yeah, it was marketing and sales actually. So I've got 2 marketing people based here, but supported by a much, much bigger marketing engine in the US, and a sales team now of 5, but also onboarding specialists, BDR, and then partner managers as well. So
You mentioned that Constant Contact has kind of AI built into how it functions. I'd love your take on how you think the role of AI is going to evolve in your world, and what SMEs should be doing to kind of take note of the power of AI in their business.
yeah, well, I think it's a really exciting time for small businesses. I mentioned earlier how it used to be just the large businesses that could benefit from AI, and we're seeing such a shift. I think, if we were having this conversation 12 months ago, it would have been very different. It would have been trying to not even persuade, but explain to SMEs the importance of AI and why it can help their business, how it can help their business. Now I don't have to do that anymore. Everyone's on board and everyone is jumping on the bandwagon and really wants to embrace AI. And through free tools like ChatGPT, they're seeing the power and the benefits. So we did a survey fairly recently that showed 72% of SMEs in the UK are planning to use AI in the next 12 months. So completely different mindset now. And so the great thing is that the way Constant Contact can help is, and it's not just in writing the content using AI, because I know a lot of people that's the number one use in marketing for AI currently, but also automating so many tasks and creating entire campaigns. You can actually simply just put a few keywords and say what your goal is, and then it will create an entire marketing campaign which is fully optimized to hit that goal based on all of our knowledge and experience that has gone before across, hundreds of thousands of SMEs. So it's a very powerful tool.
Wow. I had no idea it'd gone that far already. That's pretty crazy. Amazing. Well, Erika, we're nearly there with the podcast. I'd like to finish up by asking everyone one final question, which is, what's the best or worst piece of advice they've ever had?
Okay. So I'm not sure if this is kind of good advice or bad advice, but I think the one thing that sticks out for me is generally when people have told me I can't do something. It's usually people have got my best interests at heart, and I can't even say it's bad advice. Sometimes it's been good, but it's just triggers something in me that if someone says, "Oh no, you can't do that," why can't I do it? And it actually just spurs me on to do it. So, oh no, you can't set up a business when you've got a baby at home and a toddler. Well, why can't I? And then I have to prove that I can. Or you can't have a job like the one you're doing now and still keep your business as a side hustle. Well, why can't I if my employer's supportive? So it's usually just that challenge of it's like I say, it's not good advice or bad advice. It's just having someone tell me I can't do something. It tends to trigger something in me to prove that I can do it.
I bet having a drinking game with you would be too easy then. Good. Well, thank you so much for your time, Erika. That was a great note to leave it on, and we really appreciate you coming in.
Thank you so much, Adam. Lovely to chat to you.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Behind the SME. Don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review. It really helps others find the show. If you want to get in touch, you can find our email in the description. Until then, keep building, keep learning, and we'll see you next time.